Welcome back to Jersey Matters. When you ask politicians in New Jersey or you ask citizens in New Jersey, what are some of the biggest problems in the state government? At the top of the list always is the school funding formula. So what is the problem? What is the formula? Not many people understand it, so let's clear that up. Michael W. Klein is the interim executive director at the William J. Hughes Center for Public Policy at Stockton University. Thank you so much for coming in.
It's a real pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about the formula. What is it?
This is a 2008 law. It's called the School Finance Reform Act of 2008. New Jersey has a constitutional requirement to provide, under the words of our state constitution from 1947, a thorough and efficient education, a system of public schools for children ages 5 to 18. That's where it really starts. Where the rub is what does that mean? What is thorough and efficient? And there was a first court case that was first decided in 1973, Robinson v. Cahill being our governor at the time. And there was a lawsuit, and it was actually part of a national movement looking at school funding as a real social justice issue and an equal rights issue. And the state Supreme Court in 1973 decided that if the unequal amounts of money being spent at the suburban districts versus the urban districts really was a problem and violated the state constitution.
And so that's what the formula is supposed to do.
It's supposed to address all that. So boil it down, it's the state providing money to the urban districts to try to get them up to speed with the suburban districts so that every child across the state is provided with this thorough and efficient education.
So the state's supposed to get this pool of money and then distribute it back to the districts, right? And the way it's supposed to happen is that there is some fairness in that every child can get maybe not the same education, but at least get a good education.
Right, and it's really worth reading the words of Justice Willentz in the 1990 case. And Justice Willentz talked about thorough and efficient in terms of creating citizens and providing an equal opportunity for competitiveness in the workplace. And that's language from 1990. It sounds very familiar to what our elected leaders talk about today. But that's what this really is all about, providing those kinds of opportunities to children. And what the court decided was the only way to measure that was money.
So let's get to the problem.
Yeah, those are the
money is the problem. Money is exactly the problem.
Yeah.
And there are some districts that don't feel like they're getting enough money under this formula. So what is the problem with the formula?
The formula is now 10 years old. And you've got, New Jersey's on the cusp of a real change in enrollment. We're going to drop, according to projections, almost 17.9% between the high point of our enrollment in the year 2009, fast forward to the year 2031. We're going to lose almost 25,000 students in our schools. Now that's not equal across the board. You've got some districts that are growing, some that are shrinking, and that's the problem. For a formula set in time 10 years ago, while demographics are changing and people are moving in and out of the state, you've got, according to a most recent study of the nonpartisan Office of Legislative Services in New Jersey, there are 70% of the school districts are underfunded to the tune of $2.2 billion.
I thought the word formula meant that it could change, right? I mean, a formula is a set so that even when you put changing numbers in, it still comes out at least with a similar conclusion.
Right, it should be per student, and they're very, very precise numbers in this formula. The problem comes when elected officials don't want any district to lose what they had, even as the numbers should really change. And that's the debate going on right now in the legislature. Should money be taken away from the districts that have shrunk but are still getting the same amount of money? And do you take that extra and move it over to the districts that are underfunded?
I guess my question is, why doesn't that happen automatically under the formula?
The overriding policy document in the state of New Jersey is the state budget, and that determines how it's funded. So the formula. This is the first formula that has been found by our state Supreme Court to be constitutional, with the caveat that it's fully funded, and it's never been fully funded. And the governor has to his credit, has proposed an extra $243 million to be put into school funding to try to get it up to the level where it's supposed to be under the formula. That's still not quite enough, but the problem is what the formula says and what the budget provides.
So the formula may not be the problem. The formula may work if it is implemented and funded.
Right, and why there are so many court cases over this is because there are very vigilant advocates looking out on behalf of the children in these lower income districts that will keep going back to court and holding the state accountable, saying that the formula says this and you're not funding it, it's not fair, and the money's got to be provided.
Well, that's an interesting perspective because you hear so many politicians that I talk to saying they have to change the formula. That's the problem. They have to change the formula. But and I know you're nonpartisan. You're not taking a position. What you're saying is, if the formula was implemented the way it's supposed to be implemented, it should be working.
And I think under the formula, you'd see that money shifting from the districts that have lost enrollment going toward the districts that have grown.
But powerful politicians are blocking that.
I think that's right.
Great, wonderful. Thank you for clearing that up. I really appreciate it. Michael W. Klein, Interim Executive Director at the William J. Hughes Center for Public Policy at Stockton University. Jersey Matters continues right after this. When we come back, we'll continue talking about school funding with superintendents and school districts directly affected.